You are not alone, even if it feels like you are. What you are feeling is real, it's valid, and it has existed long before you had words for it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with you. The world is much bigger than your current environment, and one day you will find spaces where you can exist fully and freely and be happy and be gay now. And most importantly, don't rush your journey. Prioritize your safety, be kind to yourself, give yourself the space to grow.
Our guest today is Tenzin Drukdak, born in India and a proud alumnus of the Tibetan Children's Village TCV School. Drukdak's journey eventually took him to the United States. After pursuing his undergraduate studies at the Berea College in Kentucky, he moved to New York City, serving as a registered nurse at the Columbia University Irving Medical Center. Today, he is a certified registered nurse anesthetist living in Center, Pennsylvania with his fiancée, Kevin. Thank you for joining us today to share your story. Drukdak, thank you once again for joining our initiative. It's really kind of you. So my first question is on your personal journey. So TCV school is often described as the cradle of Tibetan culture in exile. So looking back at your school days, how did that environment shape your understanding of yourself? And when did you first realize your sexual identity was different?
All right. Thank you, Krishtale, to TCHRD for inviting me and championing this very important cause. I owe a lot to TCV. I'm proud to say that I grew up in TCV. My whole Tibetan identity was nurtured and it was shaped there. It gave me a strong sense of belonging to our culture, language, and shared history. But at the same time, there wasn't a lot of space or any space for me to explore one's individuality outside of those norms, right? And looking back, I didn't really have the words for it then, but I remember feeling different. I don't remember the exact age, but it was pretty early on. There was an underlying awareness of feeling different, but before I knew why, and I didn't quite fit into the expectation of being a boy or masculinity around me. So that translated into silence, and you learn to adapt, you learn to perform, and you try not to draw too much attention to yourself, right? And so that environment kind of shaped me to be more sort of resilient and also taught me to hide parts of myself.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your childhood story from the TCV school. I mean, I'm sure there are so many kids out there still struggling to find that space, and I'm really happy that you found it. Now, I think our second question will be transitioning more into the West and how. So my question would be, so moving from a dense Tibetan community in India to the Berea College in the US, which is a massive shift, how did that change in the environment allow you to explore your identities in the way that might not have been possible in the Tibetan community in India, just like you mentioned about how you did not found that space while you were in TCV, right? So I wanted to hear more about that.
Okay. I think moving to Berea College was honestly the turning point for me. It was quite transformative. It was exactly the change I needed. For the first time, I saw people living openly and authentically as LGBTQIA plus individuals, and not just surviving, but thriving, right? It gave me the space, it gave me the community and permission to sort of explore who I was. And I didn't have that in India. I think being in the United States, I could finally connect the feelings that I had growing up. And it's really where I think my journey towards self-acceptance really began.
Mm-hmm. I'm really happy to hear when you say that not just surviving, but thriving. Like that's exactly what I believe many of the community belonging to LGBTQI plus is looking forward, right, in life. So continuing with that question, did you find it difficult to balance your Tibetan identity with your queer identity while navigating predominantly a non-Tibetan space in the US?
Not so much with Tibetan identity, but with the culture I was raised in, right? I think growing up in India, especially in Tibetan community, we weren't really encouraged to talk openly about our feelings or explore sexuality or individual identity besides the Tibetan identity. So coming out didn't feel simple or natural to me. It took me a long time to get comfortable with the idea. So the first few years in America, I was still struggling, trying to figure out my sexuality, my identity, and what self-acceptance even looked like for me as a gay man. So yeah, I didn't really have any internal conflict of having to pick between being Tibetan or being queer, nor did I find it difficult to balance the two identities.
Okay, that's I mean, like, inspiring to hear that, your story. I'm sure it might have been difficult initial first few years of your life in the US. So now I think we'll be moving more into your relationship. So I wanted to ask, you're now living in Pennsylvania with your fiance Kevin, and for many Tibetans, the idea of a partner is traditionally tied to the opposite sex, right? And how have you navigated introducing Kevin to your Tibetan circle or your family?
Fortunately, my family and friends have been super supportive of me in all my choices. So it was pretty easy to introduce me to him. He's an amazing partner. So that made it so much easier. To be honest with you, at the end of the day, once your family, friends, or the Tibetan circle, they see that you are you're in a stable and mature relationship. I mean, they couldn't have been more accepting and genuinely helpful for us.
That's really nice to hear, Druktala, that your family has been really supportive, because throughout my interview with many of the participants for our project, the key role that had been very supportive for them is the family and the friends, support towards them. So what has the journey of seeking acceptance from your family and the wider Tibetan community been like for you? So were there any moments of unexpected support or challenges for you?
It's not just about seeking acceptance from family or wider Tibetan community. It's really about seeking self. For a long time, I was focused on how others would see me, right? Or whether I would be accepted. And then you do everything in your power to get those external validations. A lot of that struggle for me comes from internalized shame, right? Over time and pressure to meet those expectations. I mean, that were never truly yours to begin with. So the real work starts when you stop looking outward for external validation and acceptance, and sort of let go of that shame and allowing yourself to be seen and sort of accept yourself for who you are. I mean, it's of course easier said than done. And it takes a lot of self-reflection and inner work. I mean, over time, the need for approval doesn't carry the same weight. And honestly, I don't really recall any unexpected support from the Tibetan community for being gay, but at the same time, I haven't faced any challenges either. So, I mean, no one from the community has come up to me and confronted me for my sexuality. So I will take that, yeah.
So what would you say to a young Tibetan student who is like currently sitting in a TCV's classroom, who feels that they don't fit in because of their sexual orientation?
I mean, if I could go back, right, and talk to my young self in TCV school, I would say that you are not alone, even if it feels like you are. What you are feeling is real, it's valid, and it has existed long before you had words for it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with you. The world is much bigger than your current environment. And one day you will find spaces where you can exist fully and freely and be happy and be gay. And most importantly, don't rush your journey. Prioritize your safety, be kind to yourself, give yourself the space to grow. And for all the young Tibetan LGBTQIA plus folks, there's a wonderful organization called Tibetan Equality Project. It's based here in New York City, where you can connect with others, you can share your stories and feel a sense of community, right? And their mission is all about creating more visibility and understanding within our community and remind each other that we are not alone in this. And at the same time, they prioritize your safety and your privacy as well.
Yes, thank you so much, Druktala. This is such a sweet message. And I'm sure through our today's initiative, we'll reach out to as many TCV students out there and as many Tibetans out there to find their inner self. Thank you. So our community is small and it's often very conservative, as we all are very much aware, and it's in protecting our traditions, right? So how can we explain to the older Tibetan generation that being LGBTQIA plus isn't a Western influence, but a natural part of the human diversity that had always existed, as you mentioned earlier?
So one of the biggest misconceptions is that the queerness is a Western concept, right? It's really not. What's Western is the language and the visibility, not the existence, right? LGBTQIA plus people have existed in every culture, including our Tibetan culture. I mean, they were simply not spoken about openly. So in many ways, what we're doing now is not introducing something new, but making visible what was always there, right? So when you're talking to an older Tibetan, approaching this conversation with a little bit of compassion is key. For many elders, it's not just about rejection, right? It's more about unfamiliarity. So approaching the conversation with compassion, I think that's the way to go.
Yes, I think that's a challenge that moving onward. But I see the community has evolved so much throughout the years, right? I mean, as you can agree, these days, as you mentioned about the Tibetan Equality Project that is being existing in New York City, an initiative like this, I'm sure has a long way to go for our community. So, Drukdak, coming for our today's last question, which is vision for the future, I want you to ask, how can the Tibetan community better support its LGBTQIA plus member so they don't feel the need to distance themselves from their Tibetan roots to live authentically?
I think the biggest shift needs to come from silence to acknowledgement, right? I think support doesn't always mean understanding right away. I mean, it starts with creating conversations like what we are doing right now, acceptance and support within families, and representation is huge. It matters in community spaces, right? Inviting and lifting voices like, I think, Tenzin Mariko, who is a transgender Tibetan female in cultural roles in media, helps normalize normalize LGBTQIA plus identities within Tibetan life. It kind of sends a signal that being Tibetan and being LGBTQIA plus are not separate or conflicting identities. For younger people especially, I think seeing somebody like Mariko living openly and freely can be deeply affirming, right? So when LGBTQI plus Tibetans feel like they must leave their community to live authentically, I think we lose a part of our collective identity. Inclusion is not a threat to culture. It's what allows culture to evolve and survive.
Yes, Drukdak, thank you so much. Once again, thank you for sharing your experience with us. It's truly been a meaningful and enlightening conversation, and we deeply appreciate your time. Thank you once again, Drukdak.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you.